Welcome to the 52nd edition of Women's Wrestling Weekly, the show. That means one full year of doing Women's Wrestling Weekly, the show with Scott Beck, who is in New York City. Before we get into U23 World Championships, something I have forgotten to mention time after time after time that I'm finally mentioning now. Menlo College will not be part of the NCAA Championships this year and maybe next year. This is public news. What happened was they missed a meeting. Someone was supposed to be in a meeting and they missed it. And so you can go look at this. It's public information. It might be two more full seasons. So we might not see them in the NCAA till the 27-28 season. I hope it's sooner. But for sure, we will not see them this season. They will be competing at other events, just Opens and US Open and those things. But
So they won't be in any division this year. NAI, no national.
nothing.
Like the idea somebody makes a mistake because guess what? People are fragile individuals and we make mistakes as human beings. So in the spirit of like trying to grow a sport, they agree to go to the NCAA and somebody misses a meeting and you're going to penalize a team of young athletes.
And we really
Not
could
good.
have used Menlo in the NCAA. They have a talented team. They're historically good. We've talked about this, but really would have made a difference in how we view NCAA women's wrestling, especially in this inaugural year, to have a quality D2 program in California that has won championships in multiple divisions, WCWA and NAIA. We could have used them.
And has a history of athletes that have come out of the program to whether it's competing as senior athletes, coaching, MMA fighting. I mean, whoever, really, it's just tragic.
We're still hoping that Tarleton State will add a Division One program. Don't know when that will happen, but there has been just a feeling of momentum that this could happen. And Oklahoma State is the player that won't come to the party yet. We don't know what the situation is. We've heard Title IX might be an issue. We don't have a timeline on anything. But when you have 30 athletes in a club program, it seems like it's moving in a positive direction. So if you just take it as it is right now, I don't know how you can continue to have 30 club girls that are quality club girls and not go in a direction of being a sanctioned D1 program. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I'd say, Kyle, I may be really naive about this, but I can't help but believe there is some plan. And whatever the Title IX issues are or not, whether it's ultimately if they either add another men's sport or drop some peripheral women's sport, I don't know. But I'd like to believe there's some thought going into that you don't collect 30 athletes in a room and some of them are, A level, A plus level recruits. I have to believe there's more going on. I have no knowledge, but I'd like to believe there's some thought going into that. So we'll see.
U23 World Championships just wrapped up. India won, Pan number two, United States number three. Kylie Welker, the lone gold medalist, but we had some other medalists that we will dive into. But it starts and stops with Kylie Welker, who won the U23 Worlds last year. Senior world medal this year and last year, had two bronze medals in the Senior World Championships, and now another U23 World Champion. Dominated her way through, got hit with a 4-point move, and then gave up 6 points, but it didn't really matter. She blitzed her way through as we expected. Kylie Welker, the class of the field, and I think we would say probably overall the third best wrestler at the U23 World Championships.
Yeah, we're trying to go through that. We'll get to the others. Where we were. Lena Fujinami one, Matoki two, Welker three. We kind of said pretty straight out we thought Kylie would win. It was hers to win, and she literally did dominate. You know, I don't like the fact that she got kind of lapped with for four as she was being aggressive, going for a takedown near the edge and trying to do a lift. But I like the fact that she kept her composure and took care of business after that and got the tech. Kylie looked really good. We both, you and I, we both think highly of Kylie, and I think we both feel that she's as good as she wants to be. And I actually think, and you and I have discussed this, that she's pretty close to just keep improving in wrestling and keep improving in belief that she's potentially can utterly dominate at 76 kilograms at the senior level and like rip through brackets and win multiple world championships. And that's how good I think of her, and I think you do. And she looked great, and she's getting there, and she's moving in that direction. And I think pretty shortly they're not going to be bronze, bronze. They're going to be gold, gold, and Olympic gold at some point. If she, as long as she wants to do it, I think she's as good as she wants to be.
Her toolbox is full. She has the arsenal from neutral. I think she's improving in parterre. She's difficult to turn. There's just so many things that you can talk about with her. But as we've said, she is the third best in the field. Let's go with the next two. Number two, I think we would think would be Matoki, Olympic champion, 62 kilograms. She blitzed her way through the field. And then number one would be Akari Fujinami. We'll stop with Akari Fujinami. We're going to overlay every single highlight, every scoring that she had, so you can watch and see what we see. This was Matrix-like wrestling. She looked so good, so smooth. And I think we both agree she will put on a takedown clinic, but I think she put that on because she wasn't necessarily looking for turns. I think she got on in parterre. There was one situation where she had a turn, but she just transitioned into that. But I think she really wanted to work on her takedowns, work on her feet, and she did.
Yeah, I mean, I think she can get turns pretty much. She's very good in parterre, actually, and very deadly lace. And we didn't really see much of it, probably because we saw one situation, as you alluded to, but because she wanted to work on her feet, maybe see how she felt. Um, it's not, yeah, it's Matrix, and it's not wrestling, it's ballet. And if somebody appreciates the sport, just to watch the way she flows from move to move, sets everything up, very relaxed, aware, cleanly finishes. And she did like this low single where she came out the back door and transitioned into that lace where your head's like kind of buried and you surround the legs. And it was like it was purposeful. And I think it's something you worked on. And I've seen some people do that type of lace where your head's really in the crotch and you're rolling through it. But I like how she set that off the leg attack. And again, I think that was very purposeful. And you can look at her. She's got a cute little smile, and she's an utter assassin. And you'll overlay it, and it'll be fun to see. But it's pure. Just if one likes the sport, it's just pure pleasure to watch this person wrestle.
And I laugh because there was a pan over to the Hungarian coach who she was wrestling, and he's giving advice like, dig the underhook. It's like, yeah, easier said than done. Yeah, go ahead, dig the underhook, see what happens there. And of course, 40 points for Fujinami, 0 for her opposition, as we expected. But it really is just beautiful to watch her wrestle. Yeah, that's all you
Yeah,
can say.
yeah, and it's not like this is a U23. It's not a senior, but it's not like the tournament is just filled with a bunch of scrubs. I mean, there's pretty damn talented wrestlers, and it's just so crazy. And she jumped not one weight, as we talked about, from 53. She jumped two. Want to go right to the Olympic weight, and it'll be interesting because she'll have to deal with Kawhi. Kinjo retired, but she does have the reigning Sakurai who ran the quad, 3 world titles and Olympic title to deal with. But she jumped right up, and she looks really good at that weight. And she's not small for the weight. She's filling out, but she's still actually relatively lean looking. So who knows how much more she'll grow and what weight she'll ultimately wind up, because she's still very young. But just the way the awareness in the feel, it's just a really, if one likes wrestling, it's a special thing to be privileged enough to see. And I stand by my comment after watching her wrestle one match. I looked at her and I said, this is going to be the GOAT. And I stand by that. We'll see what happens. I think it's all about how healthy she stays.
Let's stay at 53 kilograms. Christina Ogunsanya from William Penn, who wrestles for Nigeria. She defeated Brianna Gonzalez. Bringing this up in the bronze medal match, bringing this up because it is funny to see Gary Mabb from the University of Iowa, and then you have Jake Cadle, William Penn's coach, New London, Iowa, with the Nigeria gear on, coaching Christina Ogunsanya. And it was just funny to see because I've seen them at tournaments together. I actually snapped a picture with Gary and Jake Cadle together I think they like each other, but it's just funny to see these two American coaches, especially when William Penn is about an hour away from Iowa City, and then they meet at the U23 World Championships in a bronze medal match. I just think it's funny.
It is funny, and it's because I don't know what resources the Nigerian country slash federation is providing. I think I might have seen some of the athletes cornering each other kind of in the back in the second spot. I might be wrong about that, but I would say first of all, I thought Ogun Sky looked really good. Now she lost in the semis to Morikawa. I don't know if that's a relation of me with Morikawa, senior world champ, if that's a younger sister. We'll talk at 59, Ruka Natami is the sister of Sarah Natami. There's a lot of sister pairs in Japan. But I thought Ogunsai wrestled really well. And she lost to Morikawa. She was in that match. There's one or two little positions, but I thought she looked really good. And Gonzalez wrestled in a bronze medal match. And I think it was probably a frustrating match for Gonzalez because I actually think size mattered a little bit in the match. Ogunsai is a full size 53 and then some, and really just lean, ripped, look great. And Gonzalez looks a little small for that weight at this kind of now senior level, And there was one or two positions where, it was like Ogunsai is trying to, grab, and Gonzalez is kind of trying to stay on the outside like a mosquito buzzing around. And she had one really clean, great attack, and it looked like at worst either Gonzalez is going to slowly improve position and get the takedown, or at best, Ogunsai is going to get the stalemate, but was able to muscle away and ultimately get a takedown. So I think size mattered a little bit there, but, tough weight class. Gonzalez wrestled well, and, Ogunsai is pretty slash very, very good.
And just thinking ahead, there's the potential that they could meet in the college season. I know that William Penn is coming up to a dual tournament with NAIA programs going against the NCAA. I think the winner will go against the winner of the NCAA. So presumably William Penn would have to overtake Life. So you'd have a possibility of a one
tall
versus
task.
two. Yeah, tall task there, but it would be interesting to see that happen again. So you could have another match from U23s come back to Iowa City where they're an hour apart in colleges.
That's great. Yeah. And again, it's kind of interesting that they're an hour apart wrestling, but Nigeria, look good. We'll talk, Ogunsai and Kolawole look really good at 62, which, we'll get when we get to it, we'll talk about it. But
let's talk about 62 because that included who we thought was overall the number 2 best wrestler at the U23 World Championships. And Matoki looked good, blitzed her way through the U23 World Championships. Of course, she's an Olympic gold medalist, so we would expect that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Matoki is starting to distance herself from the field. I know this wasn't a quote senior worlds, but she's had matches where she's had some close matches against Grace Boulin where she had to pull things out. She's an Olympic champ. She won the Olympics before she won the Worlds this year. But Matoki was hitting, she teched or pinned everybody, but she's at 62, and she is hitting like just nasty low-level attacks, quick single-leg attacks, finishing clean. She really, and, so she was in the bottom half of the bracket, which is the weaker half of the bracket, and she just annihilated everybody on the way to the finals. The top half of the bracket was a legitimate senior bracket. You had a Dugo, you had Kolawole, you had Bonder, and you had Montero from Venezuela. So very stacked. Bonder squeaked away by, and Bonder, tech Macy Kilty. So let's just, Bonder won that U23 World last year. She didn't medal in singles. She lost in the first round. And again, this year, I predicted good things. But so I'm a little bit, I guess, vindicated by the fact that Bonder, won 3 really tough matches in a row where she took care of, Kolawole, and she beat a tough opponent from India, and then she beat Montero from Venezuela to get to the finals. And Montero, who's the one that beat Adugo and looked very good. So she made it to the finals, and then Matoki just blitzed her in 2 minutes. It was like she was drilling. And we both think really a lot about Bonder, from Ukraine. So a really tough weight class. interesting. I thought Kolawole looked really good, actually, and she came through and got the bronze medal. And, she dominated Venezuela 8-1, so, and she teched India 16-4 in the repechage before that. So really good showing for Nigeria. Adugo, obviously we really like Adugo, and she's keeps improving. Didn't have her best match. I think she wrestled that Venezuela multiple times, and she beats her. And I think she's just going to keep getting better and better. And I don't think that was her best. I think she would say the same thing, that I don't think she'd say that was her best performance.
Even though she won the particular match, she beat Alara Boyd at the US Open. It reminded me of that, where she just looked off a little bit, where it just didn't have her energy and just body language wasn't there. Don't know if it was maybe a tough weight cut, but just didn't look like the Adugo we've seen all season.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a weight cut, it could be an injury. I don't want to sit and just guess or make excuses, or maybe she's had a bad match. But we know that when she's on, and she's explosive. That was not the explosive version, and it could just be a style clash too. That Venezuelan is actually very good. Even though she got beat up by Kolawole, which just makes Kolawole look better, in the back, but she's very good actually. And Bonder, kind of had a very close match with her, that she kind of pulled it out and kind of dominated at the very end, but it was close for a long period of time. So, that I'd say 62 was the toughest, deepest weight class at this tournament. And the top side of 62 was by far the deepest half bracket in the tournament.
This again is why you need to watch the tournament, because of what we are about to say. 55 kilograms, Cristelle Rodriguez got pinned in a cradle. So when you just hear that, you think terrible tournament. However, when we leave and coming out of this, we think it just as high about Cristelle Rodriguez as we came in. I still think she's the best 55 kilogram wrestler at U23 division. She was dominating her match, got in a situation where Germany, Andrich
Yes.
got the cradle, and she just held on tight. So I credit Andrich for just executing beautifully to get that cradle, just classic folk style technique. But before that, Rodriguez looked fantastic. She has all the tools in the toolbox: mid-level, high-level, low-level shot. She can throw, she can do a lot of things from top. I just think this is one where you say you got into a situation where you got pinned. Let's get back to the drawing board, because she's really good.
Rodriguez goes and gets a fall in her first match, gave a couple of points, but got a fall. She's dominating Andrew. She's up 6-0, and made, to quote Lee Miracle again, perhaps she sacrificed positions for points. She was being aggressive near the edge. And that German Andrews was long, whipped a cradle on, was able to pin her. But I think Rodriguez absolutely can win this tournament. If you wrestle the same exact tournament, same exact draw multiple times. I mean, the Kazakhstan girl that won against Amir was up early, big. I think 8-0, wound up winning 12-8. There's no doubt in my mind that Rodriguez can go or beat both of them consistently. And sometimes you just make one mistake and you lose a match. And did she take stupid risk? She just made a mistake. And the German girl did a really good job, that she got the cradle in there on the edge, and she was able to keep it in bounds and get the fall. It was really tight. She's really long, so she was able to do that. And I think by the time Rodriguez realized she was in trouble, it was one of those, it's kind of too late. But I think zero less of Rodriguez. And I like this part of me that really likes that she was very aggressive, and she'll learn from it. And she easily is as good as anybody in this weight class.
And
No
maybe
doubt.
maybe a little out of position on that bar arm, where she got out of position and then gave up that position to give up the cradle. So just maybe a couple tweaks you can work on. 50 kilograms, we have a silver medalist, and Audrey Jimenez. She continues to get to the world finals, and I don't think we think any less of her. She continues to win medals, which is insanely difficult to do at the age level world championships. She has her fifth world silver medal. I think it goes along with another bronze. but Jimenez makes it to the finals. One thing you have to say is that she is an absolute fighter. She was on her back, and if you want to show an example of how you fight insanely hard to get off your back, I would show that. A lot of people were asking what happened on that 2 points. It was a caution and two. The officials had called that because she had put her hands in the face in a danger position.
She does not give up. And I remember first seeing at the US Open when she wrestled Lampy and was down 8 points on her back. And I think it was 8. And anybody watching the match was like, this is over. She fought like hell, winds up coming off, getting takedown, getting a lace and beating Lampy in the US Open at a young age. So she is a scrapper and a fighter. Again, we've talked about this a little bit. I mean, she's really slick. She's really good. Lang from China was never wrestled internationally. I don't think there was anything on her, but was a scrapper fighter and really strong. And I think, I think size may, I hope they drop that lowest weight a little bit. I think it would be to Audrey's advantage. She's just a little small for 50. And I think there are times where sometimes the size works against her and, somebody can shut her down or muscle their way through certain situations. But clearly, she's as consistent as anybody. She's got great attacks. I think could her arsenal get more broad? Yeah, I think so. But had a very good tournament and unfortunately, got caught in a position. And I didn't even see that either. You and I were talking whether it was a hands to the face, but she wasn't going to give up the fall. And I really respect that fight. And she's just going to keep improving and getting better and better. And if they drop the lowest weight to 48, I just think it just, catapults her to the next level because, the size matters a little bit in certain situations.
And it was validation when the announcers were calling her Jimenez.
I said before, Jimenez just 19 years old.
Which we never did. We may have said Jimenez when it's Jimenez, but it just goes to show it's tough to pronounce these names. I don't blame them at all because think about all the names we would butcher that are foreign. So for them to call her Jimenez, I think it's just validation that it's tough to get these pronunciations right, Scott.
Absolutely.
59 kilograms, another age level world medal for Lexi Janiak. She got one back.
Janiak.
She got one back. 17-17 bronze medal match. It was absolutely wild. Pandemonium. That sounds like a tie football score in the NFL. Hard to believe that was a bronze medal match, but she came back, got the win, and just some match tactics in the finals. Gosh, you would think Janiak is scoring from that crotch lift position and she shoots at the end. Just wonder what she was thinking in that situation. Janiak takes advantage and wins on criteria 17-17 for a third age level world bronze.
Yeah, great job by her. Nobody in humanity has been screwed more in calls and world championships. So I'm glad she got one. I have to look at it again to see if it was two exposures at the end. It was close, but if you think about it, there was the Polish just tactics were not really that good. Janiak scoring off a lot of counters as she always does, crotch lift situations. When Poland got multiple turns off one really weird scramble, weird turn, if you look at it, just got about 4 of them. Then they challenged. They were up by 5. I guess it wasn't enough. They thought they had one more turn, which I kind of watching it live. I haven't gone back and looked. I thought there was one more turn too, but I guess they ruled it wasn't to a defensible position. They challenged that and they lost a point. They lost their challenge there, Poland. So instead of being up 5, they went to be up 7. It became up 4. And ultimately that might've been, who knows the way the match plays out, but that was a point you could have used at the end. And, Janiak gets in some scrambles a lot, and there's always these tilts and exposures, and it's very tricky. But she did take out a senior world bronze medalist, Hui from Norway, along the way. That match was closer than the score, and there was a position, maybe multiple, where Hui had like Janiak in like a Peterson position, and there was one that I thought it was actually just Norway. They called it 2-2, and then Norway had to go for some stuff at the end. So just she gets in crazy positions a lot because she's very defensive with a lot of lifts and exposure type stuff off neutral positions. But consistency by her, multiple junior world medals, now U23 world bronze. Good job in a tough weight class. Won by Natami, Ruka Natami, whose sister, has won multiple age group world medals, and his sisters of Sarah Natami, who actually pinned Matoki 2 weeks ago in Japan. So interesting.
Bellamere at 65 kilograms got to a medal match, did not win that, so she placed fifth. I think the thing about Bellamere is that it's still remarkable that she's wrestled at two age level world championships, and she really had no no freestyle background going into college, was mainly folk style, started late. So just that she's making this and accelerated her process to get to this point where she's on world teams is remarkable. But you just saw maybe some of the holes in her game a little bit because she just doesn't have the freestyle savvy. She's so tough mentally that she's always going to be in these matches. She's going to fight hard. And as big of a fan as we are, there's just some things that probably need to happen from the freestyle end to just get a little bit more savvy.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling takes time and experience, and and I don't know, in her priority list of what she's trying to do, how much, yeah, I'm sure she likes wrestling. I don't know how much training she's doing in, combat MMA as opposed to wrestling. And I mean, yes, for the amount of time she's wrestling, she's phenomenally well. And to be honest with you, she actually had a really tough draw. Her weight was pretty solid. And the person, like, she won, her first match and got kind of controlled on the front side. But what's the name? Petlikova, I'm probably butchering it, is pretty good, who dominated the match. But Alex, who beat her 8-0 on the backside from Hungary, is actually, pretty good. And she lost to India for bronze, but this was a really solid half bracket. And she's a competitor. And I just can't help thinking that there's probably a part of her, and again, maybe I'm way out of turn, that's thinking when she's losing to somebody in wrestling, I'd love to have an MMA fight with you and see how that goes, because that's what I'm really focused on. But she's, obviously a competitor and has come a long way very quickly.
Just so mentally solid. You even saw that in the championship side loss. She was going to try her inside trip, which she's hit a couple times in college and various tournaments. Wasn't able to get to it. It got countered, but she's just always fighting, always looking. And I think that's why you just have to be such a fan of hers, is because she is that fighter and you just see the upside that she has. I don't even think she's close to being where she can be in wrestling. And I just think being at this tournament really accelerated that. And we just see how good she can be.
Absolutely. What is yet to be determined is where, as I said, I have no knowledge whatsoever, is where this is in our priorities and how much energy. You can't be an elite world class athlete at everything. So I don't know how important this is. I mean, obviously it's important and she cares, but is she going to put the resources into being the best wrestler, or, trying to win a UFC title, and I'd probably lean, to the UFC title in her perspective. She has the support, the genes, and the pedigree. So it'll be interesting to see, but I love watching wrestle.
Jasmine Robinson got to the gold medal finals, lost 11-10 in one of the strangest matches, because if you look at it, we're going to show all three. There were three identical situations, not identical because each situation had its own unique properties, but they looked similar because the counter was similar by Jasmine Robinson, but she ultimately lost 11-10 after gaining a big lead. But what was interesting about that is the challenges is that there was a situation where it could have been a tech if the challenge wasn't won. So it was 10-1 and they challenged from the corner and then they won it. But I think in that situation, you have to, even though you say you can't tech yourself out of a match off of a challenge, but I think you had to because being down 10-1 would have been fatal. But it ended up being a challenge one, and then they went on to win 11-10.
Yeah, that wrestler was actually pretty good. And, Roberts looked very good throughout the tournament, really dominated to get there. That was one of the situations. Yeah, well, it's either you get four, you give four, and plus one. So it's a 9-point, potential swing, right? But they all were slightly different. The first one, the lock was broken, and Robbins and each one shifted a little bit more to the opponent, where Robinson got less potential exposure, and if there was exposure, she, it was a whoop-de-doo off a single leg where she's throwing it back, and each one progressively the opponent finished more on top of her with less exposure and held the grip on the leg attack. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if you put them 1-1-1, like right after another. But they were slightly different. It was a match. Obviously, Robinson could have won, and you could just feel the momentum changing though after that second challenge was won. And then sometimes it's one of these things where you go to the well once too often, you try the same thing. There's a presumption that will work once that your opponent's not going to adjust and understand why they gave up that 4 as opposed to getting the 4 off their own attack. And I do think adjustments were made in that opponent. But good tournament for Robinson. Tough loss, but I think there's a lot to be learned from that. And, I think it's nice to come back from DNPing at Junior Worlds and take a U23 World silver.
Overall, the United States, as we mentioned, got the bronze in the team, so third place behind Japan second and India first. This was India's second age level team world championship, so we have to ask, where are they in the scope of things? Where is Japan in the scope of things after a dominant senior world championships with some of their reserves? I think overall, I'd give the United States a solid B for their performance. You have 3 gold medal matches, one won by Kylie Welker, and then several bronze medal matches, one won by Alexis Janiak. I'm giving them a B. Your overall take on the team performance?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, we didn't mention Williams, who it's her first world championship, and she wrestled solid, lost a close match to somebody that lost a very close match to the win, ultimately the winner. So she was 0-1, but, wrestled tough. I think it was a team performance. I think there were matches that we could have won that we didn't. We started out really strong, obviously, the first day. I think it's a BB plus. I think mistakes were made, but it was a team performance to take third. Interesting for Japan to take second without their senior world champ, Mokiuka didn't medal, which I bet 0 people on the planet had that. She lost to somebody. She got controlled, actually. Lost that match. When I say controlled, she was winning 2-0, got headlocked in a classic headlock and stuck, and that person got controlled. Really, that's not what I meant. I mean, the person that beat her was controlled, beaten solidly. So, wrestling's a funny sport because mojo matters. And Kyoko lost to Akuno in the World Team Trials. She was a defending senior world champ. I don't know anything. Maybe she's injured. Maybe she lost confidence. I don't know. But she might have lost her mojo short term. I think Japan didn't have a consistent team. They had weights that they did very poorly at some of the upper weights. There were gaps. They had multiple Olympic champs who looked phenomenal. India is just so scrappy. They're just annoying to wrestle. They have really long arms, not to generalize anatomically, but they do. And they fight through positions. And I would to pick them to win the tournament. I see how they did. And they're tough, So overall, I think there's things to be worked on and things to be proud of. And I think it was a good team effort. And, we'll build on it.
Let's end with this NWCA All-Star Classic, Saturday, November 1st. Hope you'll watch. There are 4 women's freestyle college matches that you can see. So great way to kick off the college season, which we'll be getting into. So we're excited about that. So I hope you'll tune in after an exhilarating U23 World Championship. Scott, it never stops.
You know, it's funny. It never stops. Keep ticking. I'm proud of us for doing 52 episodes and being consistent. I appreciate the feedback and people following, and anything we can do better, we want to hear it.